Don't know why. Don't know why the mic suddenly wants to go away. Okay, I wasn't even ready to start, but then Kage, I saw you join, and I started the stream prematurely because I was shocked to see you. One, I was shocked to see you here. Hello. Two, I was shocked because that is not your standard greeting. I was very surprised at that. Thank you for the tomato. It's a mess in my office. Everything's a mess. I haven't streamed in a long time. Nobody. Helio, how's it going? Look at these. Look how cute these are. Look at these cute little things. It's not what we're doing today, but they're pretty cute. They're still not quite done. Okay. Anyway, Helio, it's good to see you. Okay, the thing is, I have to do some soldering, and I'm having trouble motivating myself lately, honestly. And I thought that if I like force myself to sit and work on stream, that it would be helpful. Yeah, these are custom Sudoku keypads. They're Sudoku pads for Sven's Sudoku pad. And I spent an outrageous amount of time working on them. Like designing the keycaps, figuring out how to do the two-tone keycap stuff is like way too much time. Anyway, good practice, but these are probably worth like $8,000 each, just based on the amount of time I put in them. So anyway, I should probably have done more of that on stream. I've been bad at streaming lately. It's true. And I'm sorry, we're not doing Sudoku today. Maybe I'll do Sudoku later. I've been going through Skojo's old puzzles, and some of those are kicking me in the pants, frankly. So anyway, a macro pad that works with Companion. Wait, what's Companion? Is that a thing I should know about? Is that some cool Linux thing? Bit Focus Companion. I don't even know what that is. What's Bit Focus Companion? Oh, it's like a Stream Deck alternative. Mystery meat sandwiches. A lot of those early sandwich puzzles I really like. I did Constable finally yesterday, which was a Skojo kind of Picross. The second Picross was also very good. Doing one now that's like a 4-star that is based on the Ides of March that I spent an outrageous amount of time in and then realized I made a mistake. So I've got to just start over. Yeah. Okay, I think I have seen this actually. Like it's an alternate. I like this macro pad. We're talking about like, you know, non-Sudoku pads. This one's pretty nice and pretty cool. You could probably use this as a Stream Deck-ish sort of thing. Or you could just make one. You could do what I do and just, instead of spending $70, spend like 700 hours. It's a good plan. Anyway, what we're gonna do, I haven't really done this before, and I don't really know how it's gonna work out because it's gonna be very hard. You don't need the knobs. Why did it say knobs was a bad word? Anyway, I think this company, is it Megalodon? I think they actually do have, maybe they don't. I was gonna say I thought they had some that were non-knobby, but maybe it wasn't them. It might have been some other one from Kiba Monkey. People love the knobs these days. I mean, this one doesn't have knobs, but it's very limited. Anyway, so yeah, Helio, I try to tell myself that, you know, well, it was a good learning experience. You know, I learned a lot. I kind of leveled up PCB design. It was my first surface mount project. I'd been interested in keyboard builds before. I wanted to build like snap enclosures for the like a snapping lock enclosure for the case. I shouldn't have. This is the hardest part of this, unfortunately, has been like getting these keycaps to print nicely and fit properly has been a huge pain. I keep making them too tight, and then when you pull them off, it like rips the whole switch in half. It's not good. I think I have a reasonable balance now, but I just realized my fingernails might be dirty. Oh no, I can't do like fingernail close-ups with dirty fingernails. What am I gonna do? How do they look? Okay, don't ignore the dirt there. I mean, it'd be kind of cool if I had one of those like cool soldering what's its face? What are those things called? microscopes, but I don't. Maybe I can... look at these. Look at my... looks like I have a French manicure. Look at my beautiful French manicure. What do you think about that? So, let's see. I want to try... Can we just, like, lock the focus on this? We don't want autofocus. Or do we? What's the... Okay. Is that in focus? We're going to call this in focus. It's going to be very difficult to do this and not get in my own way. In fact, I'm already in my own way, and I don't even have the soldering iron for it. So this is going to go very well. So we're going to solder. We've got all these little like protection circuit friends going on. So we have a low pass filter that's just, you know, capacitor and resistor. And then these are TVS diodes, which are new to me. So they're like transient voltage suppression. It's basically if a little kid runs up and they're shuffling on the carpet and it's a winter day and they, you know, send 3,000 volts into the equipment with a little spark on their finger, which, you know, those can be, those little sparkies are like 3,000 volts. And you don't want to destroy everything. So the idea is to put a bunch of protections on the board. Really, this board is like mostly protection. It's like so much of what is actually on this board is protection. There's one IC that goes in the middle that is kind of a cool thing, but it's a buffer chip that goes there. This is a Raspberry Pi Pico, and then the rest are connectors, and then everything else is basically solder burns. We'll see. Normally, I'm pretty good about not burning myself while soldering. However, I'm gonna have so much stuff in my way that it feels more likely. And I'm kind of on the fence of which iron to use in terms of like what's gonna be less in the way. I've been using my little USB-C Pine Sol quite a bit, just because it's a little bit less of a hassle, but they're already causing danger. I think we're gonna use the Heiko or Hako? The FX888D, the old standby. So we're gonna try to do this. I am definitely new to what's my cool magnification setup. Definitely new to surface mount soldering, so I'm not gonna do a good job. Or, you know, I'm gonna do as good a job as I do, which is maybe not the best, but hey, we'll try. Okay, I think maybe I will be okay here in terms of not causing too much damage to myself and others. How's our focus? I feel like the focus is not terrific. This is, I should probably get a flux pen just to make life a little easier. I do have, this is lead solder, so I need to not touch my face or mouth. Try to keep my fingers out of my mouth while soldering. With it's like flux core. It's probably a bit thicker than is reasonable. I got kind of the biggest tiny components I could. I'm enjoying it. I think I decided to just kind of start with what I had, which is, this is the, whatever this is, 0.8 mil, 0.8 millimeter, excuse me, solder. A little bit finer would probably be better. I could probably do with a finer solder tip than this, but I made it through the first board. I think I can make it through this. It's not going to be the greatest, but, you know, again, I kind of wanted to start with what I had. So I think we're going to start with resistors, I guess. It's not a very dramatic camera view. It'd be cool if it was super close, but I don't really know how to do that. I mean, yeah, maybe I need a cool microscope. Maybe that's the secret here. Okay, so because I don't know what I'm doing, I think we're gonna start with resistors. I'm just gonna put a dollop of solder on one side of all of the resistors, and then I'm gonna flip the board around, and we're gonna just kind of use tweezers and position the parts and then put a little solder on the other side. And then I will do what is my specialty, which is mess with the solder way too much. Like well beyond when I should just leave it alone. I'm going to just continually mess with it. And that's my kind of like personal recipe for success, is doing like messing with something up to the point of like ruining it. You know, that's how I recommend soldering. So let's, I'm going to actually get where I can see what I'm doing. Okay, we're going to try. We're really going to try here. I'm currently magnifying the top of the camera, which is not tremendously helpful to me. Okay, biggest thing to remember, keep your fingers out of your mouth and your eyes when dealing with leaded solder. So, tin the tip a bit, and then we're just gonna like put a little dollop. This is probably way too much, but it's what we're gonna start with. I don't know if you can see any of this. I mean, the what I'm going for is where it's where if you look at it not under magnification, it doesn't look embarrassing. So I'm just basically going for, if you hold it at arm's length, you can be like, yeah, that looks almost like a machine did it or something. You know what I just realized I did not do though, which I think we should probably do, is I'm in an extremely closed off office and should probably. So, you know, the thing about leaded solder is you're not gonna vaporize the lead, right? Like the lead, your solder tip is not hot enough that you're gonna turn the lead into a gas and inhale lead, but you're inhaling all the flux and grossness and whatever, like, so not a bad idea to still have some kind of filter. At a certain point, I think once you do get to like 900 Fahrenheit, you're not necessarily vaporizing the lead, but it can off-gas some fumes that are bad. So let's just not even get to that point. The real question is, where do I plug this in? I think we're gonna have to just unplug this and hope it's not important. Okay, seems like that wasn't important. Yeah, but that's good, right? Don't you want that? My favorite thing to do, it's a little harder on boards, but when soldering LED strips is like delaminating the copper from the board and then just ending up with the board like splitting in half and then there's no repairing it. That's a fun one. Okay, let's turn on some air, which hopefully is not too obnoxious on the camera. Seems like you probably can't even hear that. Okay, so how are we doing here? We've got some dollops. Now we need some resistors. What are these? These look like resistors. Got everything from DigiKey. They're so tiny. These little tiny fellers. Anyway, let's cut off. Oh, you know what I just realized? Okay, thing I have to remember on this board, do not let me screw this up. This is a multifunction board that's used for a couple different things. I only have to do 8 of the 10 of these. And so I actually should not have soldered this. I'm probably going to screw up and I'm probably going to forget. And it's not the end of the world if I forget, but I really only need to do 1 through 4 and 6 through 9, which I have already forgotten that was the plan. Okay, so I do want to get some nicer tweezers. I have these, which are reasonably nice, but they're not really very good, I'm finding, for this particular work. I've actually bent the tip very slightly, but I do have These, which are absolute garbage, they just came for like free in something. They're just like some die stamped thing that's glued together or praised together or whatever. Oh yeah, I could put tape. So Helio, that would be sensible to put some tape over there. But then where's the excitement? Like, you know, where's the? We got to leave it. We got to have there have to be risks to make this good entertainment, right? So yes, I could easily put tape over that like a sensible person, but then I would definitely not forget, and that's not fun. So I also should probably not just dump these tiny resistors all over my desk, but I'm gonna. Okay, so we got all our little babies here. I don't have necessarily strong opinions about, at least at this moment, the orientation of them, as long as they're all consistent. But I guess it makes sense to try to align them with the top of the board, with the top of the board. So I'm going to put them all upside down when doing this. So we're going to set our solder aside because we don't need it for the moment. And so the ambition here is, one, already to forget that I said I was going to do these upside down. We don't do the top two, are the two that we're definitely going to skip. And then, yeah, this is content. Okay, so then all we're going to do is try to sort of hold this, and this is, I'm clumsy at this at the best of times, but all the stuff on the desk will make it a challenge. We're going to make that a little pool, hold that up, remove this. That was not bad, but it was further over than I intended. Okay, so that, can you even see anything I'm doing? Not too terrible. You know, I'm going to, again, we still have to do the process where I go back and mess with everything and make it worse. But reasonable start. And I'm kind of like, this is a big chisel tip, but I kind of like it because I can sort of just butt the part up against it. Oh no, I got a weird glob. Okay. And then, I don't know how well you can see any of this. Anyway, it's very small. Okay, that one was pretty good. So I definitely have to mess with it because I did a good job, so we gotta make it worse. Okay. Reasonable start there. I probably want to go kind of reflow this. I don't have a hot air station. That is definitely on my shopping list. In fact, I was thinking that I wasn't even going to try to do this without hot air. The person I work with at the museum, who's definitely much more adept at this, has a nice combo like hot air station, and then also has a hot plate to just sort of bring it to temperature and then float with hot air and like use the solder mask and all of those things that a sensible person would do. And for a larger run of boards, I would definitely want to do that. This is a small run of boards, and as I said, they all are kind of different in terms of which components. There's two that we're doing that are the same, but there's variations of what's soldered and what isn't. So I decided to just, especially while I'm learning, use the hot air. Yeah, I definitely see people do that, and it looks cool. Like some people just, yeah, no stencil even. Like some people just like, especially for this size, you could definitely just squirt the paste with a syringe and then just float with hot air. Definitely not opposed to that. I think that is definitely on a nearer term shopping list for me, but you know, just trying to, I have mixed feelings on there's a reason for this, but I'm cautious of like new endeavors that require new purchases. There's this old saying that's something like, beware any endeavor that requires you to buy new clothes or something. Can't remember who said it. Might have been Thoreau said. And so anyway, I just I think when I was younger, I went through a period of, for example, getting into music and then buying a bunch of music equipment and then actually kind of not enjoying making music anymore once I quote unquote took it more seriously. Which is okay, but I think like it made me a little more cautious for a long time of like, okay, I'm not going to buy anything to do this thing that I'm experimenting with. I'm going to start with what I have and then go from there. And then I got better. I've gotten better and much more open to buying, you know, tools and equipment to do stuff. But I still try, if possible, to make do with what I can. No, it's true. I mean, I definitely could have for 5 boards. It wasn't really worth it to have to like go through all the trouble to have these populated, even though it would have been free because whatever it is, JLC PCB, it just had a free assembly coupon. Anyway, I at least for this moment, for this small run of boards, enjoy this. I think for a run that was much larger, that would cease to be true. Okay, so we did everything in the right orientation, and we didn't solder the ones we weren't supposed to, so that's good. So my strategy for this, and we'll see how it goes, is I'm going to place the iron, and then I'm going to sort of dab the solder in the little valley and hope that it flows, and then I'm going to, you know, not like it and want to redo it and all that good stuff. So let's just see. Maybe I'll do it more on the side. I don't know. Didn't enjoy that. I think this side is a little better. But I'm making giant globs of solder. Good boy. I don't know if you can see this at all, but... Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is just like stick the iron in and make sure it flows and gets something of a little fillet there. Just because I'm not sure I flowed fully under the part with that one. And then, debatable, there may already be plenty of solder on the other side. I don't know. We'll inspect later and decide if the far side needs a little more love. But let's just reflow this a little. Okay. And the same thing over here. How bad is this? Like what is this even? Can you see anything I'm doing? I can't really tell. I could try to make the camera lower. Just try. Let's try that. Surprised with the focus on this. It's tighter than I might have expected. Could bust out the old ohm meter. That's true. I mean, so there's a certain... So the nature of this particular circuit, this would now be functional, right? Because now we have done the thing we needed to do, which is complete the connection to here. Both the diode and the capacitor really just bridge this connection to ground. So this should be a functional circuit. So let me solder the other side and then we can give it a little test. Okay, we got our giant globs. So I think you're actually not seeing the one I'm working on at all. So that's great. Actually, I think you have a better view than I do, which is interesting. Those don't look good on camera. These are not camera-ready joints, sad to say. Look a little yucky on camera. Okay, you're looking way too closely. Don't look that closely. Okay, where do I need to be? Look here? What does that look like? Bad. Interesting. I mean, that's worth checking. The reality of this is the other end of this are micro switches, you know? So like it's in terms of electrical stability, definitely not as critical as if there was some kind of like actual data exchange taking place. Okay. See, I feel like these look awful on camera. What an embarrassment. But right here, they look great. Good enough for government work. I mean, if you look at the NASA spec, there's this cool, I think it's from the 60s or 70s. I'm pretty sure it's NASA. Some military spec for soldering is an interesting read. I don't know. These are pretty globby. Pretty globby. Partially, I think you're seeing the flux making them look a little yucky. See, this is where I need to just stick the hot air gun on them and then just liquefy my my shame. Call it shame liquefaction. But somewhere it's a thing called a multimeter. Just for Helio's peace of mind. Mill Standard 2000, maybe? Although that sounds like it's from the year 2000, and the thing I'm talking about is like from, I don't even know. Seems like it was 1960s NASA, the thing I'm thinking of. Could be wrong about that. I'm in ohm meter mode. Okay. Can you see this? No. The answer is no. Okay, how we doing here? Can't even see what I'm doing. Wait, why is that reading in mega ohms? That doesn't seem right. Okay, try this. 0.999K. So we somehow have lost 0.001 ohms. I think we can deal with that. I think it's okay. We measure like from start to finish on this. Oh, it's from the 90s. Got it. Is that just in the 90s when we called things 2000 because it sounded like the future? Okay, sorry to say, Helio, I am off by 0.001 ohms here. So that one's actually exactly 1K. Helio, maybe you told me, I don't know if I remember what you do for a living. Okay, electricity flows through these. So that's a big win in my book. We've got electrons that go from one part of the board to another part of the board. Real triumph. It could be. Could just be. I mean, like when you buy these resistors, they're supposed to have up to like a 5% tolerance, right? So 0.999 is pretty good. Is that true? Is that normal? Like 5% tolerance, isn't that right? Maybe I sprung for something fancier. Oh no, these are 1%. So I did even better than the 1%. So good job, resistors. Oh, Air Force maintenance. Okay. The real question now is, am I so embarrassed by these that I'm going to feel the need to reflow them? They generally look like okay connections. There's actually 2 of them that I think could use more solder. So let's just give them a little dollop. It's a little stingy. Now that was way too much. Great. So we went from not enough to way too much. See, this is the part. This is the Scott special technique. If you came here to learn special soldering techniques, it's this, where you just mess with it and ruin everything. I should get one of those irons that has the little... what did it just do? Did it just tear up that pad? That would be funny. No. Okay. Kind of looked like it did. Let's mush that a little bit and pretend it never happened. So Helio worked at Area 51, servicing UFOs. Oh, right. Thermal engineer. I think I do remember that part. Okay. That seems reasonable for our resistors on this board, I think. So let's do the capacitors now. And again, the capacitors are just here for a low-pass filter, just because the leads to the micro switches are basically antennae, and nobody wants antenna hooked up to their microcontroller, so we'll address that. The issue being is, like when you hook an antenna to something, that antenna can pick up whatever nonsense is going on, and might give you false positives. So these are the diodes. These are kind of monstrous, but let's do the capacitors first. Okay, the caps are cute. They're also very tiny, adorable. One could argue, so I have 2 identical boards I need to do. Whoa, that's cool. You worked on spy cameras? So Helio's a spy. I think we all knew that. It's not surprising, at least. And now, very delicate work system where I just dump things all over the table. I don't think these really have an orientation up or down, which is good, because they're just blobs of ceramic, right? Okay, but you're still a spy, even if you're just developing the film. You can't be like, oh, I'm not a spy, I just developed the spy's film. Likely story. That's exactly what a spy would say. Me, a spy? No, I just work at the 1 hour photo. Okay, get our little friends blobbed in. That one felt good. That one felt clumsy. Shouldn't have said anything about that other one feeling good. You probably can't see me. Shoot. Okay, I can try. That one looks so crooked. What's this one? Okay. Now I've lost all my parts. Maybe I should have put the camera on the near side. Is that a terrible idea? Possibly a bad idea. Might be smarter. Okay, I'll take it. Develop like the humans who developed the film. Is that what we're talking about here? Okay, we're skipping this one. We're going to this one. How do I get this where you can see it better? I don't know. I feel like if we're gonna really, I mean, I just don't probably solder enough to really justify it, but if I was gonna do real soldering streams, I feel like we need a fancy microscope. That was horrible. Okay, that went badly, but we'll touch it up. Man, I had that one that went well, and then now everything's falling apart. Feeling kind of gunky. You can't see what I'm doing, can you? Okay, you kind of can. Why did Windows just make a noise? Windows, I don't need this right now. Okay. And now we'll flip around, drop the tweezers, and try to just give myself a dollop, a little dab. A little dab will do you. I don't know, I'm not very happy with that one. Can I reposition it? I feel like that one didn't go well. Let me reposition it. That's better. Oh, that's cool. I like vacuum tubes. I don't mean whatever. It's like a relativism thing or some kind of grass is greener thing, but there's a way in which I'm much more impressed with early 20th century technology, just in terms of kind of the wild inventiveness of it. That's not to say that, like, obviously modern electronics are a marvel, but there's just things that people figured out with like early 20th century electronics that are just somehow more mind-blowing to me than their kind of modern equivalents. Okay, we're gonna go touch up some of these beltas on the rear. I mean, so much of what I do and so much of when I'm designing a circuit board, there's very little, just for me specifically, I almost always am using a microcontroller. It's just like, that's the nature of what I do and how I do it. So much of what the board is just, you know, structural scaffolding to plug things into, and then like some protections, but okay, let me look in here. Not amazing, not horrible. I mean, it's just been quite some time. I'm not sure in terms of, especially just like, you know, professional work. I did stuff in school, but I really don't do much in terms of analog circuitry other than, yeah, just like a low pass filter or a decoupling capacitor, or just very simple kind of protections, I guess. Okay. This has way too much solder. Come on. Okay. Reasonable. These are reasonable now. Like, okay, I do have one IC on this board, but it's a, I'll explain it when we solder it. It's not, it's for kind of a silly reason, but again, it's kind of more in the realm, I would almost argue, of protection, but it's not doing a lot of heavy lifting. Okay, those all seem fine. So let's do our diodes now. Which are huge. It's funny, I don't know, it's such a relative thing. Like, when I was ordering all these parts, I was pretty nervous about, like, am I going to be able to solder these by hand? And was thinking in particular that, like, okay, the diodes seem manageable, but the resistors and capacitors, I soldered the thing I didn't need to solder. Just for symmetry's sake, I will also solder all the other pads on the ones that I'm not supposed to use, just for balance. Ooh, that's cool. A 20 kilowatt bulb? Is that like a lighthouse bulb? I guess I've seen videos of lighthouse bulbs. Those can be like 100 kilowatt or something, right? Like truly blinding. Okay, let's get our diode. So again, these are not normally, as a person who's not an electrical engineer, I just think of diodes as kind of like traffic cops, you know, making sure everybody's going the right direction. It lets you set up a one-way street. These are different than that. These are actually even bidirectional, which I don't know that they need to be, but I like that they're bidirectional because I can then not have to pay attention to the orientation of them. But yeah, these are specifically designed, as far as I understand, for like weird transient voltage spikes like you'd get with a static spark. Cool. I guess I use the, well, gosh, no, that's not even right. Wait a minute. 20 kilowatt. That's outrageous. The CO2 laser tube I have, I think is it 100 watts? 100 kilowatts? Now I can't remember. I want to say it's 100 watts. Maybe that's not a real equivalence, though. Okay, so now we're going to flip these. We're going to try to do these. These are pretty big. Like, comparatively, these are huge. These are like giant monsters, many times the size of these other ones. Wow, that's cool. Gosh, I really heard of like human skin oil as a contaminant, but not as like an ignition hazard. Okay, these are big, clumsy things. We're just, the goal here is to just kind of hold them in place. But I sort of feel like I put this upside down in terms, again, they're bidirectional, so there's no set direction, but aesthetically, I think I want it this way. Wait, did I put it on 5? I did! That's so funny. See, if I had put tape on it, I wouldn't have done that. And then it wouldn't have been funny. So, good job. That's amazing. I'm so glad. I was setting myself up for success. See, Helio, now you win the prize. Uh-oh, did I just melt part of my camera on the soldering iron? I think I did, just a touch. So, better the camera than my skin, I guess. That was gross. Okay, well, okay. See, good job, everybody. Helio is on high alert. The reason for the weird kind of asymmetry, which I probably could have designed better, is just that there's one particular exhibit component that is almost the same, but it has 10 inputs, and then 2 of them have 8 inputs, and one has no switch inputs, which, I don't know. In retrospect, it was just one of those things where it's so similar, I should just use the same board rather than designing some totally separate footprints. But I don't know. There's an argument to be made that this will only make it more complicated to service because each of the boards kind of has its own. It looks the same. You know, the boards look the same, but they have different requirements. Yeah, I'm okay with that burn. I'm definitely in danger of... some of the cables on the desk are silicone, but this camera cable is definitely not. So it seems inevitable that I will melt the cable to the camera as well. My first big mishap when I got the CNC router was to suddenly the power cut off, and I thought that like I'd flip the breaker or something. No, in fact, I had just used the CNC router to cut through its own cable, which is generally discouraged. Generally don't recommend that. See, I feel like if I had soothing spa music and I started speaking in the ASMR voice instead, then got like a nicer solder setup, like nicer camera, get the airflow, all that stuff. Maybe my future as a ASMR soldering artist, maybe there'd be some potential there, but as it stands, it's amateur hour over here. You can see what I'm doing. That's my biggest problem here, is making it so you can even see anything. Wow, I just launched that. Okay, I found it. yeah, struggling here with like the camera position. Maybe we'll get through this and then see how I'm feeling. Maybe I'll go get some alternate hardware to mount the camera on the near side and make it even more in my way. Okay, there's definitely not enough solder, but goal at this moment is just to get things kind of tacked in place. I think we do need to just like tilt this back a little. And as long as the focus is okay, because this is just a more comfortable spot. Wait, why am I? Oh, there it is. Okay. I do enjoy soldering. I extremely enjoy PCB layout. I don't really know what I need to do to like structure my life so that I get to do that more. Or maybe I only enjoy it because I don't do it too much, but I'm a fan. I feel like the color temperature is not really capturing the purple color of this board, which I've dedicated to Life is Yours, who only accepts purple as a member of Norwegian royalty. Maybe we can pop the exposure down a little. Well, that's better or not. And then the normal diodes obviously could not be bidirectional. These TSV diodes can. Like a normal diode's whole point is it's unidirectional, right? That's the whole point of it. These transient voltage suppression diodes can work in both directions, which is weird. Makes it sound like, you know, like that's not what a diode is, but that seems to be. Sorry, I'm playing with the white balance here. Seems to be the case. TSV diodes. I'm fully new to these. I've never used them before. It was just the person, again, at the museum who knows what they're talking about suggested that I add all these protections because these are, I've been working with the museum about 10 years and they have been, that's about the time frame in which they've been sort of in-house designing a lot of traveling exhibits, which is cool. And I've worked on a fair number of them and I really enjoy it. But they've kind of had 10 years to sort of understand like what fails on the road and what doesn't and what's a risk and what's not. And so simple things like this are very simple protections that could potentially, you know, those exhibits are intended to be on the road for up to 10 years. And then they come back to the museum and get kind of a full service. But ideally, you don't have to send techs out or send new parts or whatever. And so it doesn't take a lot of additional time and effort to add some of these things that are probably, you know, like arguably overkill. But if that's like one less service call over 10 years, it's probably worth it. And I mean, this is just, for me personally, definitely a like defer to expertise kind of thing because I just don't. I don't know well enough to say it's a good idea or a bad idea. I just kind of trust that, okay, we're saying it's a best practice, so I will adhere to that best practice. And again, the capacitors and the diodes we're adding are, I could have left them off the board and the board would have worked. Yes, that should be true. I should also be, you know, at anti-static. The one thing I would maybe be a little worried about on that is the IC, the little buffer chip we're going to add. Yes, it is. There is a certain irony to me putting in these delicate electrostatic protections for long term while not taking basic ESD protections while I sit at my own desk. But we're just not going to talk about that. We're gonna just gonna say, just doing the best I can do. This is one of the many jobs that I do that is not really, I don't know, my job description, I don't even bother trying to define beyond just artist, but some days it means I'm pretending to be a woodworker. Some days I'm pretending to be a electrical engineer. Some days I'm pretending to be a musician. Like, it's a kind of like a cosplay job. So there's no reason to do this other than I want this place I messed up to be shiny. So we'll just put a little shiny solder there, just for shine. Look, I'm in a moist place in the summertime. If I really felt like I was, and I'm on a hardwood floor, like, so I'm not super worried about personal electrostatic buildup. However, in Pittsburgh, in the winter, when it's dry with the heater on and little kids come shuffle on the carpet, you know, I think there's a higher risk at that point. And also, if I break the board in here, I can just fix the board in here. So this is not meant to be an instructional channel in terms of how to solder. It's meant to be an instructional channel in terms of how to have the confidence to do the things that you want to do. And just convince yourself that you can do anything, and then do it. And sometimes you're right. Okay, I feel reasonably good about these. These are not the most beautiful joints. I think in terms of, like, you know, the purpose of solder, it's twofold. You want a good mechanical connection. You want a good electrical connection. I feel like I have a reasonably good mechanical connection and a reasonably good electrical connection. I would not send this board into outer space. Robotic telescope mount. How come Helio has the coolest job? I mean, my job is pretty cool sometimes. I do like working with the museum. So what do we want to do next? The next thing that's probably worth doing is this IC, because it'll be very easy. So that's we've made it through our surface mount components, really. Everything else has at least some through. Oh, no, that's not true. I almost forgot. This cute little capacitor that goes here. Just like a little protection buddy near the, I think I made it too dark. That's too bright. These are our two options. Very good. Maybe we can up the gain a little. Ooh. Life is yours. Hello. Look at this purple board that I've dedicated to you. Okay, so this is just like a little friendly neighborhood capacitor to act as a guardian for this IC. Again, just good practice. Life is yours. You're my PCB muse. I feel like I've asked this before, Helio. What is your what kind of software development are you doing? What are you like writing thermal simulations? You doing a bunch of R for thermal analysis? Okay, we'll put our little A little friend here. I had a friend who used to work as kind of a, not sure quite the title. I think she was, I guess you'd call it like a thermal engineer, sort of in like HVAC world. So I'm not sure if that's quite the right title. And she would do all these like simulation works and simulation work in that realm. I'm trying to convince her now that she could work as a VFX artist because Houdini's just a bunch of particle simulations. It's not that different, right? Like if you were good at all of your like HVAC thermal simulation software, surely you can use that to make cool particles in Houdini. That's what I'm going to tell myself at least. High fidelity finite element analysis tool for laser effects. Cool. Life is yours. Is that how you think of yourself now? A full stack developer? What happened to Life is yours, the electrical apprentice? Okay, that's our little protection cap. Let's drop in this this IC, and I will tell you why it's silly. So if you work with like the old school Arduinos, like an Arduino Uno, or if you work with certain other microcontrollers, you are generally dealing with 5-volt voltages, like 5-volt logic. And that's fine. That's great. The problem is, in that era, very often, as you know, newer sensors and newer whatever, newer devices that you'd want to interface with those were often 3.3 volts. And so you'd have to like use voltage dividers or whatever. It wasn't too common, but now we have the opposite problem where very often now I've got this old school giant dip package chip that in this case is actually going to do me a favor, but sometimes it's a problem. Sometimes things want to be powered differently or communicate differently than what your microcontroller is capable of. This Pico only wants to speak 3.3 volts. And if we try to send 5 volts to any of the logic pins, it can be a problem. So an encoder hooks to this board, and rotary encoders of the like size and type that I use, like the industrial ones, are pretty much all 5 volts. The thing that's annoying about them is sometimes the data comes in with like, as you call it, open collector, meaning it's either ground or it's nothing. So you never actually worried about 5 volts because it's ground or it's nothing. But sometimes those encoders go between ground and the voltage they're powered at, which is 5 volts. And that means that sometimes you can get away without this because you happen to have an encoder that basically goes between ground and open rather than ground and high, and it's fine. But if you plug an encoder that goes between ground and high into a Pico, there's a chance of destroying the board. So the purpose of this buffer chip, you can use it for a lot of different things. The thing I'm using it for, which is maybe not really its intended purpose, but it does what I want it to do. It will take whatever the input is, whether that is open or high, doesn't matter. It will take whatever the input is, and the output will be between ground and open. So it's almost like a conversion tool depending on which encoder gets plugged in here, because apparently I'm told by the museum that sometimes you will get what will appear to be the same encoder and it will have different internals, and it will go between ground and open, and sometimes it will be ground and high. And so just to try to be safe, you're an electrician programmer. Just to be safe, this person's purpose in life is just to say like, hey, be careful. Let's just make sure we're not sending 5 volts to those pins. It's a little bit annoying. One of the things I really liked about the Teensy 3.5 in particular is that even though it had 3.3 volt logic, the pins were 5 volts tolerant, which was cool. That was a cool thing. but not the case anymore. And the ESP32 in the data sheet, this is a weird one. ESP32 in the data sheet says, hey, these pins are not 5-volt tolerant, don't put 5 volts in them. But like the like CEO of the company went on Facebook and said it's actually fine. So very mixed opinions on it, but the smart opinion seems to be like, well, go by the data sheet, because the hardware could change at any time to actually adhere to the data sheet. So even if the production run you have right this minute happens to not adhere to the data sheet, the replacement you buy in a year, maybe it will. And so anyway, so even on the ESP32, I would do this. This is a Raspberry Pi Pico, which there seems to be no doubt about its 5-voltness. So I don't know. This was, after talking through it, this seemed like the best bet. I'm not saying it's the best way to do it. People do seem to use this chip for things that are like logic level related, so let's just hope I'm doing this right. Yeah, nothing more fun than like blowing up your microcontroller by doing something silly. I mean, this one was kind of insidious though, because the thing I was so confused by when I first did the like breadboard circuit for this, for the particular encoder that I have, when I first did the circuit for it, it wasn't working because I put a voltage divider in. I was like, okay, this is going to come through 5 volts. I'm going to put a voltage divider in and then it will be fine. But it didn't work with the voltage divider, but it worked without the voltage divider, which was weird because that should have blown up my board. And only later did I learn like, oh, actually that's an open collector dude. So, okay, this is hopefully happy now. It's really not doing much except for that like kind of logic level protection for the encoder. Yeah, the magic smoke is magic. Here's something funny that you'll love, which while I was talking about this is embarrassing, but we'll have a fun practice at desoldering. This board doesn't need this. Oops. This board doesn't need this chip. I just remembered that this board doesn't use the encoder. This board in particular. Oops. Do I care enough to desolder this $1 chip? Or do I hide my shame under the Raspberry Pi Pico that just sits on top of that? Unfortunately, desoldering this many holes is kind of a pain. That is something where hot air would really be helpful. Oh man, that's embarrassing. What do I do? Should I try to desolder this? It's not going to be easy. Oh boy. Why am I like this? Okay, Helio, as the professional here, do I desolder this or do I just hide it and no one will ever know? I don't know what to do. I'm panicking. You don't like solder suckers? They sometimes they do a good job. What's your preference? I mean, I think I have some solder wick somewhere too, which I've never had very much luck with, frankly. Could try to solder wick. Could try to solder suck. I have an okay solder sucker. I have that engineer one. This little thing. This is a tough decision. What do we do here? There are definitely different tiers of quality. This one is okay. It's okay. Let's just try one, and then maybe if I get lucky, maybe we'll continue. If it's awful, I will just not do it. Okay, that was not a good start. We definitely sucked off some solder. Pardon the phrase, but we didn't actually clear the hole. So this would probably be kind of a nightmare to try to fully do this. Yeah, Automod doesn't want you to badmouth. You know, what I'm thinking is like maybe I get the hot air reflow gun, and this is the time. This is how we put it to use. It becomes our first victim. Okay. Problem is, I do need to solder some pin headers here, and I feel like if we do we might cause problems in the future if we reflow. So, excuse me, the wise thing would probably be to just stop what I'm doing now and not continue until I can like actually do it. But the other thing I could do is make it more complicated by putting some components really close to the spot that I need to desolder, just to really add to the drama, you know? Like, solder all these in so that when we reflow these, we're like endangering these pins. I think it would honestly be fine because the ones at the end would stay anchored, so I'm not super worried about it. So I kind of feel like we'll just pop these in. Let me think about that. I'm doing it. I'm just going to solder the extreme ends to start with. I mean, sure, that's a redundancy. Here's the thing, no one's going to see it. It's going to be underneath the Pico. So, you know, it's just a secret. It's a fun secret. It's a little Easter egg that only you know about. Helio, I appreciate you keeping me company. I feel like this is probably super boring to watch, like, not very good video quality of soldering poorly. I won't think Life is Yours, because I know Life is Yours loves it when I do stuff like this, because I'm inevitably going to get mad about something and then rant about it. And Life is Yours loves nothing more than for me to get frustrated. So at this moment, I'm only frustrated with myself for what I have done. Yeah, that just means like I could hook an encoder here. In case of emergency, pop that encoder in and we're ready to roll. If I didn't have spares of those chips, I would be more concerned, but they're like $1 and I have spares, so I think it's gonna be okay. I did waste one of my precious capacitors, but also have some spares. Okay. Those look reasonably okay. They look so bad on camera. They look like, I look at them in real life, even under magnification, and I'm like, okay, those are not horrible. And then I look at them on camera, and it's like, that is the worst solder joint I've ever seen in my life. I didn't know. It's like the camera adding 15 pounds or something. I didn't know that the camera made all solder joints look terrible. Okay. That seems reasonable. I probably should have done that with the with a Pico in, just to make sure that their pins are perfectly aligned. But even if there is a tiny misalignment, I think the pins will bend as needed and not be that big of a deal. And the Pico's in the other room, so I can't be expected to go into another room. Okay, it's a bad angle. It's getting hot in here. Are you a fan of, or do you like matte joints or you like shiny joints? I feel like there's some debate. Maybe there's not really. My perception is there's some debate. I mean, maybe there's not really debate, but maybe there's just some variation based on whether or not what your flux situation is. I don't know. You're the expert here. Okay. These... They look so bad on camera. Like, where is it? Some of these joints look totally fine in person, and then somehow, maybe it's just because of the way they catch the light or something. They just look so, this looks so awful. Is it the focus? Is it just me? Okay, let's try, I mean, I know the flux makes them look a little gross. But some of them look good, and then some of them it's like, why does that look so bad? Like, why does this look so bad? It looks fine in real life. This one? What's wrong with this weirdo? It just looks like a monster. Okay, this one's not adequately matte, according to Helio, so... Okay, I think that is going to do the job, I'm pretty sure, of connecting a few switches. Could be straighter, but it seems okay. Okay, so... The final big piece on this are the switches, and there was much debate and discussion. Actually, we do need to, these little binary fellas determine the function of the board, so we will need to do one of those. So we'll just make it, make this board number 1, not board number 0. Get a good blob there. We're not using serial here. We're not using the encoder. We don't need any of that additional support. This is our little secret that we're not going to tell anybody. So we need 8. We need 2 more things. We need the big ol', whatever you call that thing, decoupling capacitor. And we need the cool new Molex connectors that I'm using for the first time that are not cheap, but seem really nice. Like, they seem like a good They seem like maybe the right. So for one thing, they support both board to wire and wire to board, which is uncommon, unfortunately. They will work in both of those scenarios. Should we put the... I'm going to not put the capacitor on yet because it will mean it doesn't lay flat. So let me go get these... let me go get these switches, and maybe we will also try... I really am hesitant to put the camera in front, so maybe we won't do that, but be right back. Gotta go get some switches. Yo. Oh, hello, Isaiah. I, for some reason, was not able to tell you were a different person because your name is the same color as Helios. And so how could I possibly tell you apart? That's embarrassing. Okay, be right back. Three in the morning. What are you doing here? I mean, you could, obviously you made the right decision tuning into this restful spa soldering stream. Look how bad these look. They look fine in real life. I'm gonna blame it on the lighting. I've never been so self-conscious about my soldering joints. Wait, it's 3 p.m. Now I'm extra confused. Are you a vampire? Okay, so these are the cool, I think it's the SL series Molex. Pretty excited about these. Same connector for board to wire and wire to wire, which is a rarity in this universe for some reason. Doesn't seem like it should be a rarity, but it is. So let's do 4. 4. So here's the place where we're back in, like, the drama is going to come back, because very possible that I will just screw this up and solder one of these in a place that it doesn't belong. So don't put it on 10 or 5. So one of the things that's cool about these, I did get the through hole. They do kind of snap really satisfyingly into place. So I can pop them all in and not have to worry about any work holding while soldering, which is a treat. It's a real treat. Except it's sort of hard to do upside down from the camera. The perfect time to commit a crime? Okay. I cannot, when I'm doing circuit board layout and I'm laying out traces, definitely something in my mind about Sudoku. There's some inspiration there for a circuitry based. I'm sure surely somebody's done that. That is fair. Yeah, no 5s or 10s. Unless it's that rule set that wraps digits around, where ones can be 10s. Okay. Look at that. Look how professional that looks. Ace is high. There you go. I have had an idea for Sudoku that I've wanted to set for so long. I would need help We definitely need help. The problem is if I get help from you two, it will be too hard. I need help from like an amateur. I've never made a real effort. I mean, I got what I'd say like 10% into a musical Sudoku, which I do like the idea of. Well, see, Isaiah, the thing about me, you know, you say you're a very good solver, poor setter. I'm a poor solver and also probably a poor setter. So it's a, you know, if we go back to our binary setting here, those are my 2 bits. Okay, so these seem fine. Just to check again, switch 5 and 10 are naked. We will not do that. I like a 3-star. 3 stars is a comfortable rating for me. And I say that thinking of the 4-star Skojo I'm currently trying to solve, that's ruining my life. But it's only ruining my life because I made a mistake. Ooh, power cut? Cool. Oh no, what did I touch? Shoot. I keep carelessly bumping the soldering iron against things. Did I burn my light? That would be sad. I like this light. I could put it like a halo behind me. Okay, did I burn my light? Possibly a very small blemish. The lens appears to be okay, so I guess I won't fret too much about it. Wait, Skunkworks? What is that? Okay, I keep changing the light temperature, which I don't need to do. I feel like I went off on I've done such a poor job of streaming and solving on stream in the last few months. Partially it's because I went on that Blobs Vision Quest, and then I went on the Skojo Vision Quest, and then I was doing the Sudoku pad, and I just like, even though I've been consumed by Sudoku, I just haven't been streaming it. Sudoku Twitch train, okay. All right, let's solve these. Solder these. I'm going to solve. Time to solve these connectors. Okay, I will definitely check out the Twitch train. That sounds good. I want to catch. I know that like on setting Saturdays, I need to start catching the Skojo streams. It's just a time that's hard for me to catch. Oh, cool. All right, thank you. The thing is, I need to trick Blobs into setting a puzzle with me, by like pretending we're gonna play Minecraft or something. That's what Blobs truly cares about in the world. Look, I tried to solder this thing where there wasn't even a switch. I do also still keep thinking about Sudoku RTX, my ray traced Sudoku solver, Sudoku Pad RTX, where all I would do is like steal all of Sven's work for the like puzzle solving part of it, and then just put a different rendering engine on top. Is that true? That's cool. Okay, maybe I need to have a setting Saturday where I get everybody to join in with me. I have a definite clear vision of what I want to accomplish for at least one idea of a puzzle. And I did, Skojo was kind enough to talk through it with me, but as is probably apparent, I always have 800 projects going on at any given time, and I let it fall to the wayside. Okay, doke. So, oh really? Are there geographic clusters of I don't know of anybody in Portland. Okay, this board, Scotting Saturday. Yeah, that's very good. Okay, so this board, see, right now you're looking at it too closely, and so it doesn't look great. What we need to do, what's the best way to do this? Let's just go here. If you hold it like right here, pretty good. Don't look at the back. I mean, even from there, the back looks okay. Although I can see the light hitting the pads differently, and it's making me self-conscious. If I hold it like this, it's not so bad. Excuse me, got these cool Molex SL connectors. So one, I forgot the, I do like this like heavenly glow. Hey Siri, turn off all the lights. How's this? Should I just stream like this? I kind of like the halo though. Like this? If I start a cult, that's how I'll do it. Stream like this. It's almost like an interrogation now. I mean, the other option is this, which this is not a good idea, but like, this is truly blinding. This is a poor choice. Hey Siri, turn on all the lights. I was thinking about the Blair Witch Project recently. I would be scared. I'm so horrible. Hey Siri, turn on all the lights. Blair Witch Project. So scary. I mean, I always mean to like dress up the office a little bit, but then I end up with stuff like this. It's not very flattering. It's not a very flattering look. Okay. What are we about an hour and a half into this? So I'm pretty pleased with this. So the real question is, do I want to just right now do this again? Because I have a second of these that I need to do. And I will save some time by not soldering the parts on that I shouldn't solder on. That's a quick work tip for you, just in terms of like efficiency, is generally recommend that you don't do things that are not necessary to do. You'll find you save a lot of time. So now let's solder the most significant bit. This board is this is Big Indian, right? A big Indian board. The most significant bit is to the left of the least significant bit. Okay, I feel like I'm gonna roll. It's very hot in here, but let's just go ahead and do the next. Just go back and do all the surface mount on this fella. Did I lose my focus? Focus. No, these are not my just So no one panics. These are the crappy flush cutters. I'm not using good flush cutters for like cutting plastic and stuff. These are the 3D printer flush cutters. They go over here. The good flush cutters are only used for flush cutting. In fact, I just realized we actually have one more joint on that other board. So one thing the corollary to the don't do the things that you shouldn't do work tip is that you generally should do the things that you should do. Like generally, if something is part of your job and it's a requirement of your job to do that thing, I generally recommend that you do it. Not always, but generally. So this is the first thing we actually have to care about, the polarity. So let's pay attention. Where are we? Okay, this is just big ol' whatever. I already forgot what it is. 100 microfarad. And we're gonna put the positive in the positive. And let's try to get that right. That's positive, right? Wait, double check me here. I don't know if I can get this on camera. The long lead, positive, just like this. I don't know why I didn't also label negative. I don't think I designed that footprint. Okay, so I feel like this is going to be hard to get. Did I tilt the camera or something? Why does it suddenly seem worse? Good boy. Oh, maybe that's why. Is a barrel capacitor the proper term for that? Not a big boy? I thought it was called a big boy. What's the difference? That's a electrolytic capacitor, right? Is that actually the right way to say that? The little ones are ceramic and these are electrolytic. Is that true? Am I remembering that correctly? So we don't have to care very much about this. As long as it's through the hole, I think we'll be happy. And again, this is just a decoupling capacitor. So if there's weird stuff going on power-wise, the capacitor just eats up the weird stuff. Those are technical terms. I guess you might call that also a filter sometimes. We'll just use the back flush cutter for this. Okay. And then just for like kind of OCD aesthetics, I'll just reflow that a little. I'll clean out the flux off later with some alcohol. This joint looks bad to me now. Maybe this just need a little more solder. Speaking of OCD, not really a term I like to use lightly, but I did see something that I thought was funny, that the company Ubiquiti, who makes like reasonably good wireless, or sorry, networking gear, has what they call like OCD panels that are really just like aesthetic panels for your rack mount setup. I thought that was fun. A jug or a juice box. Oh, I feel like that was a thing that was people were interested in a while, and then we forgot all about it. It was like using supercapacitors for power. That seemed cool. Because you can do like, it's effectively a battery you can charge instantly, especially if you have extremely low power requirements. I think that's cool. And it seemed like a thing people were talking about for a while, and now, I don't know. We just all decided that wasn't cool anymore. Okay, let's get all our dollops. I feel like I have altered my workspace now. Let's just go ahead and do the caps while we're at it. I guess if I were brave, I would do the caps and the resistors at the same time. What are the odds that I would forget and get them backwards? Possibly high. A jug or a juice box? Never heard that before. I like it. Okay, I soldered pad. See, I did that. I soldered incorrectly pad 10, even though I skipped 5. So just to make things dangerous, let's go ahead and solder pad 5 so I forget later, and Helio has to yell at me again. Okay, so we're all happy. Let's just run through quickly and get all the resistors, then we'll run through and do all the caps, and then just actually like seat them properly. Later. Okay, dump teeny tiny resistors all over the desk. Good. I like it. The old juice box. Okay, did I lose 2 of my resistors just doing what I just did? That would be sad. How did... There's one. Oh no, I lost 1 resistor. Okay, maybe just dumping those all over the place is not actually the best idea. Okay, there it is. Okay, found all the resistors, don't panic. So get lined up. And let's do it. So what are we doing? We want to perhaps position these where I can sort of see them. And then we want to put them all upside down. I bumped the camera, didn't I? Okay, let's put the resistors in the resistor holes. Did I do number 10? I did. See, that was just testing you. I used to have, I gotta fix the bot at some point. I used to have the Metal Gear Solid alert sound where you could fire it from chat for when I did ridiculous incorrect things, which, you know, I do that. I know this is going to sound like a form of coping, and it probably is, but I feel like it's well documented that my sort of mental facilities drop by, let's say, I don't know, as much as 25% while I'm streaming. Just something about the act of streaming. And I think I get it. Like I used to, I've talked about this before, but like I used to watch Giant Bomb videos all the time. And it was this is unfair, and it's not good that I thought this, but I will say it, and then I will say that I no longer think this way. That I watched those guys play video games on stream for the better part of 10 years, and I thought from watching them all play so many puzzle games on stream, and this is not good, but I thought like, wow, I feel like I know the IQ of all of these people. Like, I feel like I have a deep understanding of the intelligence levels of these people from watching them solve puzzles on stream, in like, video game puzzles. And what I was not accounting for is that when you're streaming, some non-trivial amount of, however you want to put it, mental cycles are dedicated to the stream. Like, what am I saying? Am I talking enough or too much? Am I making sense while I'm talking? Is the stream working? Is checking on chat? What's chat doing? All of that kind of thing. It's not exactly an excuse, but it is a reality that I have observed in myself many times, and makes me embarrassed for ever thinking that I could say, like, yeah, I know how smart these people are because I've seen them struggle to solve a puzzle on stream, and it's just not true. That said, I easily could have done that off stream. Not unlikely that I would have still soldered number 10. And then how would Helio have helped me? Well, fortunately, Helio is a spy and has spy cameras all around the world. So even if I actually wasn't streaming, Helio still would have sent me a Discord message that was like, don't solder number 10. So in this particular instance, it's no problem. The only problem is the spy tech is a little outdated. So it does take 2 to 3 weeks to develop the film. Okay, let's not even do like polish these up yet. Let's just go ahead and get the capacitors in, and then we will sort of oh no, I just got a message from Helio. Oh, I think that was the invite. Jan, how's it going? Jan knows the mental overhead thing of trying to teach while also being a teacher, I'm sure. Teach yoga, enjoy. You can help people get past their mental overhead. I just launched a capacitor. I don't even know where. Am I ever going to find it? Oh, I found it. Wow. Unexpected. Okay, so I like the capacitors more than the resistors of these surface mounts. I just have got a good feeling about the capacitors, even though I did a worse job with them. I just like the look. I like the cut of their jib. We're going to finish this, and then we're going to go shop for a hot air gun. I think there's one in particular that people like that is reasonably affordable. It's one of those things, of course, that have like no cost ceiling. I feel like any kind of sort of lab equipment can cost any amount of money. But I think I can't remember what it is. Quick something? Anyway, we'll find it. Okay, don't do number 5. tell I'm getting tired and I'm breezing through this a little more quickly. And I don't think I'm actually doing a worse job. I mean, we got to go reseat all these and stuff. But, not reseat, but like reflow at least with a little more solder. But okay, that went pretty quickly and pretty smoothly. So now let's get our dollop on the other side. Those were huge dollops. I don't know. Those look a little crooked. I don't love them. Just reflow these real fast. Okay, so get our glob. Those all went reasonably well. Make sure these like actually flow under the part. Okay. Oh no, I was all on my own. Don't worry, you were. It's like I had a little helio on my shoulder telling me not to do number 5, so worked out. Okay, so now let's go back and get our little secondary globs. Definitely too much solder, but I think it's okay. I mean, can you really have too much solder? The answer is yes, but can I have too much solder? The answer is still probably yes. Am I going to continue to put too much solder? Absolutely. Okay. Okay. How'd we do? I mean, there's solder on there. I see 2 of them that look not satisfactory. Okay. Get our diodes. Again, let's try to only solder the ones we actually need to. this go in there? Okay. Sorry, confusing myself with plastic bag. Okay, we got more of our weird little transient voltage diodes. Just knock the camera all over the place. My big news with the museum. So I'm working on this project, which has been great. It's all part of a Charlie Harper exhibit, which has been fun to work on. A little challenging, but you know, it's been fun. But there's this project that I've been working on for a million years on and off and keep abandoning and revisiting, the musical chair. And I think the plan is to actually show the musical chair at the museum in the fall, which is great because, one, it's good to have, when you have an interactive piece of work, it's good to have a place where people can interact with it, turns out. But also, and most importantly for me, is it is an actual deadline that will force me to finish it, which it's a gift from the universe sometimes to have a deadline, especially for what is more or less a personal project, because then it can just go on for all eternity or be abandoned like 90% of my projects. Or not, you know, I'm not going to say abandoned. I'm going to say on indefinite hiatus. So it's exciting. I am hung up on one pretty substantial aspect of the design of the electronics part. And it's not a huge deal because it's one of those things where it's like either approach would be probably satisfactory, but then I make really complicated for myself because that's what I like to do. Does Twitch have the idea of oddly satisfying? You know, that like how that is in other places a category of content? I don't really know if Twitch has a oddly satisfying. Not saying what I'm doing is oddly satisfying, but I think with like just the right equipment setup, that soldering could meet that. I think similarly, PCB design could be seen as oddly satisfying by some. So those are really barely on, but that's okay. They just need to be a little bit on so we can give it a real blob. Uh-oh, what did I touch? Shoot. I don't know what burn count we're on. I don't think I've like burned. I haven't damaged anything. Like, let's say I haven't done anything more than cosmetic damage at this point. That could change at any time, but so far. Mostly cosmetic. Okay, only 3. It's not bad. I haven't really caused myself bodily harm yet. I generally, as soon as I say this, I'm gonna hurt myself. So this is a not wise thing to say, but I think that, like, in my undergrad degree is in motion design, but the foundation of that was all like pretty standard 2D design things, and a lot of the instructors I had were pretty old school. So a lot of my initial design education was pretty analog and pretty old school. So spent a whole lot of time with an X-Acto knife in my hand. And the funny thing about design school is, you know, obviously personal safety should be a priority, but very often the real priority was, I have this work that I'm working on and I don't have like the time or in some cases money to replace it if damage happens. So in a certain way, the motivation to not get cut was obviously, you know, you don't want to cut yourself, but you can't bleed on your work. Like it could be catastrophic to cut yourself badly because you'd bleed on your work. And I can certainly remember getting some cuts where the priority wasn't like, oh my gosh, I just cut a giant gash in myself with a razor sharp blade and now I'm injured. It was, oh no, I cut myself horribly. I need to like get out of here and get away from my work so I don't cause damage, which is, maybe that's not a healthy mentality, but it was a mentality. And I feel like after a certain point of that, delicate handwork, maybe I'm wrong about this, but it feels like it helped me develop some good hand safety skills, which you might call like hand paranoia to a certain extent, that I generally have not had major problems with burns with soldering. I burned myself a few times here and there, but I'm generally pretty careful of that. It unfortunately means I do have what, like, I don't know if you'd even call it a phobia. I do at times have a very intense fear of hand injury. That becomes maybe most evident or like most evident when I think about ice skating, because ice skating means you just go into this place with a bunch of strangers and they're all wearing knife boots, and I just have this terrible vision of someone running over my fingers with their knife boots and cutting off my fingers. Probably not a very, not very likely, but where my mind goes. Okay, definitely got some globbies here. But this is an artisanal hand soldered soldering board, so what do you expect? Anyway, all that is to say, I really try to be careful with my hands because I do a lot of things with them. Like, they're pretty useful. And it got to the point that, like, I'm pretty comfortable around most shop equipment, but if I go a period of time, say I go like months or even a couple years where I don't use a table saw, for example. The table saw is one of the tools that I just have a like fundamental fear of, which I'm kind of over at the moment because I've been using them often enough. But like I would kind of psych myself out if I didn't use a tool for a while, and it's like, okay, you're going to use this tool now. Like, that's a little terrifying. And I even had to start sort of telling myself, like, your fingers had a good run. You had your fingers most of your life. You've had all your fingers. Maybe you'll lose them all today. But, they did a pretty good job. You did a lot of things with those fingers. Just as a way to sort of like, somehow that makes me psych myself out a little less, which is weird. Okay, I'm just smearing around some blobs. Lathes are terrifying. That is a true statement. Like, I finally got over, I've been making things out of wood for a long time, and generally am pretty comfortable with your standard kind of wood shop tools. Like, generally speaking, I can get nervous with like a hand router or things like that, like some things that I don't use super often, but generally okay with. But machine shop world I'm endlessly fascinated in, and I've watched hundreds of hours of like YouTube machinists, but like I don't have much experience with it. And so I really want to get into machining. But one of the reasons I don't just like buy a lathe is just the potential for catastrophic injury. And it's funny because like, I mean, obviously huge industrial lathes can be like giant death traps, but I think a fair number of machinists would consider woodworking tools, like wood shop tools, scarier, just because they're shrieking high RPM nightmare blade machines, whereas, you know, lathes and mills move comparatively slower generally. But man, a lathe will just, I don't know. I got to get over it because I want to get into machining. Although maybe I don't have to. Do I have them in here? They're really cool. This other part of this project that I'm working on, I just sent out some parts to be, this is a beautiful camera view of this, like got some, I don't know if they're laser cut or plasma cut or water cut or what actually, but anyway, got some aluminum parts cut that were great and not really expensive. So it's not necessarily a requirement to get comfortable with machine tools because it doesn't have to be an expensive proposition, but I still want to. Okay, so what do we actually need on this board? We don't need any of that stuff that I put in the middle last time. I think these are all okay. So let's go ahead and just do our I'll turn on what order to do it. Let's do the switches first this time, and then probably call it after this. Helio, I really do appreciate the company. I think that is the one, it's not the one. So this year I've been like, it's been 10 years since I got out of grad school, and I've taken a lot of jobs that have like extremely stressed me out. And last summer definitely took one of the most stressful jobs of my adult life, and it just lowered my quality of life so horribly. Even though I made quite a bit of money, it just like really lowered my quality of life. It was definitely struggled with that job. Had a job in the fall that I managed a little better, but still stressed out about. But I was able to save enough money with those so that this year I've been able to sort of turn down, you know, kind of these big commercial jobs that are usually where I make most of my money. But so I've been doing museum work and other smaller gigs, and that's been fine. Although it does mean I have way less money, which will eventually be a problem. And I'm surely eventually gonna have to take another like commercial contract job that I don't really want to take. But for the moment, whatever. It's helped my mental health this year. But one big problem is I'm not a super social person to begin with. And so one of the benefits of those big commercial contract jobs, work 9 to 5 every day, whatever, are I have a human contact. I have contact with humans during the day, which, you know, as a not very social person is not always my ideal. To have a lot of contact with a lot of humans, and I need a lot of recharge time when I do. But no contact with humans is also not ideal. And I think I have been kind of overly isolated for a lot of this year, which is not an ideal sitch. That was a bad joint. Well, that felt like it didn't flow down, but I guess it did. My angle of approach was bad with the solder. Anyway, all that is to say, partially a goal of streaming more this month is just to have some company while I'm working during the day. I like this These joints didn't go super great. I don't really know why. Just a little too much solder. This is goopy. I made it goopy. See, right now I'm doing the thing that I warned you about, my signature move, which is just mess with the joints too much. Okay, so we're gonna call these okay, I think. They're not gorgeous, but they seem secure. And secure, I'm gonna go with it. So last thing is the socket for the go. And then, you know, I got to do all this stuff and actually test all these and all that stuff. Do that a later time. Sounds boring right now. And then maybe we'll order the heat gun, and when I get it, I'm just going to go to town and just reflow everything. Like a maniac. Okay, those look pretty satisfactory. The matte. That seems reasonably straight. So let's knock these out. Solder our capacitor. Call it some part of a day. The solder is also pretty old. I think that getting some finer solder would be wise. And then also, I don't know, is that a thing? It's like my flux old. I had the solder a really long time. I like this Purple Cat album. These songs on this particular album remind me of the soundtrack to Into the Breach, which is such a good game. Such a good soundtrack. Having bitrate problems? Weird, because OBS makes it seem like my bitrate is fine. Yeah, Into the Breach. The only bad thing about Into the Breach is it was too good. And then sometimes I play a game and I'm like, I wish this game was Into the Breach and not the game that I'm playing. I'm not thinking of anything specific when I say that. Yes, I am. 13 Sentinels. Okie dokie. Last little run. I don't know what that studio is working on now. The studio that did Faster Than Light and then Into the Breach. I liked Faster Than Light. I don't think I ever beat it just because it's so outrageously hard towards the end. But played a lot of it and enjoyed it. But I loved Into the Breach. I think it's one of those games that I kind of only stopped playing because I did everything. Probably go eat food at some point. That might be a wise decision. Okay, alarm test. Did you cause the alarm? Was it actually a test, or are you like throwing capacitors at people again? Juice boxes. Okay. Consistent, not so consistent. Pretty? Not so pretty. Done? Yeah. Oh, I see. Was it? It was just a test of the alarms. It wasn't like a fire drill where everyone had to go out. Okay, I feel like this is not embarrassing. It's not great. Could definitely be better. Let's put our big juice box on and then do some shopping. I lost the juice boxes. Oh no. Oh no, you have a non-working eardrum? I basically have headphones in at all times for multiple reasons, but part of it is also just like I feel like I have outrageously sensitive ears, partially probably because I have headphones all the time, but I use the like Apple noise canceling in my AirPods Pro basically at all times. It is my default state. And I also have earplugs and stuff for when actually needed, but okie dokie. So let's get our little buddy. The Skojo puzzle I'm working on, I think, again, it's this like Eyes of March puzzle, and I've been having such a hard time with it, but now I think it's one of those things where I made a mistake really early that didn't immediately break the puzzle, but did make it 10 times harder than it should be. So I'm hoping with a fresh start, I'll have a better time of it. But boy, it is rated 4 stars, but it's a kind of 4-star puzzle that I actually really like. In terms of it's 4 stars with very simple rules. Like it's not that I don't like exotic rule sets, they can definitely be fun, but there's something I do really appreciate about a 4-star puzzle with like very standard rules. I think is something I appreciate. And so the rules in it are, there's basically, it's just a killer cage puzzle. There's not anything really exotic about it. Oh, bummer. I'm sorry to hear that. I had a recent, I think my hearing is reasonably good, especially compared to like my family and for my age and whatnot. Like I think it's reasonably good, but I did have sort of a rude awakening while working on Fizz, the music visualizer I was working on. I was having a very difficult time with a very terrible Android API for like audio processing, and ultimately could not the only way I could verify it was to like generate tones of certain frequencies and send it through the API so I could see, like, am I seeing what I'm supposed to be seeing here? And spoilers, I wasn't really. But I did learn that, like, oh, I can't hear anything above 16 kilohertz anymore. And maybe that's fine. You know, I think that's not unusual for someone my age, but it's just like, I don't know. It was a little bit eye-opening to be like, oh, I didn't know I couldn't hear that. Like I just didn't realize that that was not. Uh-oh. Oh no! Did I mess up my? Oh, that would be so sad. I feel like I have somehow injured the. While playing with this, I somehow damaged the lens cover on my light. That's what I get for playing with it. This is not a toy. The plus on my capacitor? Maybe. The reason I think it's correct is I see a trace going through it, and I don't have any ground traces. They're all ground plane, and so the side that I do have, what am I doing here? The ground on, I believe, is the correct side for ground. Or negative, I guess. Oh no! I don't know how I could have managed this. That's unfortunate. Do I have to disassemble this whole thing to be able to... I mean, the white band has a bunch of minuses on it, so I'm gonna assume that it's correct. Man, this was a very lovely gift that I received, and I really don't want to damage it. May just have to take it apart. Okay, let's assume I have to take that apart. Unfortunate. I would prefer not to. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to operate on this. On my Halo. Probably while moving it around, like, grabbed this. Oh, maybe I got it. That seems worse. I think I have made it worse. Shoot. Okay, well, let's not break it any more than it already is. So, your exposure. Turn that off. Very sad to have injured it. Okay, but I'm reasonably... What are you doing here? Some gain. Reasonably pleased with these. Ooh, yeah. Look at that. Shutter speed. Ooh. Ooh. I think it has all the things it's supposed to have. And I will fully test them. The only extreme mistake was accidentally putting that IC and that capacitor on boards that did not want them, which ultimately, of all the things I could have gotten wrong, that was a pretty minor one. So I'm not going to fret too much about that. Maybe we'll get the hot air reflow station and what was these things? So the one I was thinking of, Like, you know, it's definitely one of those things that you can spend an infinite amount of money on. But there's one particular one, I feel like it's called Quick or something like that. This model? Yeah, this Quick. I was about to be shocked at the price, but that's not the price of the actual station. So I think it's this one. So $100 for a 957 DW plus. What are you talking about? Why can I not? What? I just want to copy this name. And every time I try to right click to copy it, it pops up something obnoxious. Well, why would it do that? Anyway, this thing. No, I want to just search for it. Google. Wayne, is this one better? Or the Spark Fun one? Is that one more fun? There's the more costly one, but that's very costly. That is a dark pattern. Extremely dark. Separate fan and heater control with a cute little USB plug on the front. Excuse me. That's kind of cute. Also $100. 700 watt. So this gets to 840. It's so hot. It's too hot. So the Quick is only 580 watts. How much is this? $1 million? Which is also $100. I know the most exciting parts on stream are when I shop. That one looks very fancy. It's very costly. Look how fancy it looks, though. It's beige. Love that. So, AliExpress. I'm not sure if I trust that. That's $300. That's seems like a bit much for me. I think that less costly one will probably suit me just fine. We'll order from tequipment.com. Okay, I think I need to go eat some food. That was productive. I did the things I needed to do. Was the most exciting stream? Maybe not. There was twice that I almost accidentally soldered something onto pins or switches 10 and 5, which was incredibly exciting and was saved at the last possible second by Helio. So that was good. That's just good television. And now we have these, and they're pretty cute. We also have these, which are not quite finished, but they're almost finished. They're so close. They're so close to being finished. Okay, I'm going to be done. Helio, thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. Life is yours. Thanks for stopping by. Isaiah, thanks for stopping by. I'm going to try to get more into a streaming rhythm. I'll try to solve some Sudoku this week. But until then, I'm going to go eat some food or something. Okay, bye.